Sarah and Mike sit at their kitchen tables staring at their bank account. With $3,000 saved, one car repair from credit card debt, they make $160,000 combined. She's a marketing manager at $75,000. He's a software developer at $85,000. They should be thriving, but they're barely making ends meet and constantly feel broke. How is this possible? I'm Nick, and I've watched this two-income trap destroy people's financial lives. Here's the thing. It's not about income. Our entire economic system restructured itself around expecting dual incomes and captured all that extra money before families could benefit.
When one person worked in 1975, housing prices reflected what one income could afford. When women entered the workforce, good for equality and opportunity, the market didn't keep prices stable. It said families can afford more, so prices rose until that second income wasn't extra anymore. It became required just for middle-class life. The math is shocking. In 1973, median home price was $30,000. Median household income, $12,000. A 2.5 to 1 ratio. Today, $400,000 homes, $75,000 income. Over 5 to 1. Houses now cost more than 5 years of household income, and most households have 2 earners instead of 1. You're working twice as hard for half as much house relative to income, but that second income comes with enormous costs. Let's break down Sarah's $75,000 salary. After 30% taxes, it's $52,000 take-home. Childcare for 2 kids runs $2,000 per month, $24,000 per year, down to $28,000. That second car costs $750 per month for payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, $9,000 per year, down to $19,000. Being too busy to cook, hiring house cleaning, lawn service, convenience foods adds $500 per month, $6,000 per year, down to $13,000. Sarah works 40 to 50 hours weekly dealing with stress and politics, and her family sees maybe $13,000 benefit. That's 17% of her gross salary. Elizabeth Warren wrote a whole book about this in 2003. She discovered families with 2 incomes were filing bankruptcy at higher rates than single-income families in previous generations. Not because they were irresponsible, but because they'd locked into fixed expenses based on both incomes. When anything went wrong, job loss, illness, any financial shock, there was no buffer. They'd already bid their entire financial capacity into fixed costs. One-income households had flexibility. Two-income households, maxed out, had none. This is why families making $150,000 to $200,000 feel broke. They are broke. They've committed every dollar to fixed expenses before it hits their account. Mortgage, daycare, cars, insurance, all get their cut. What's left barely covers groceries and utilities. Industries engineered themselves to profit from this. Real estate was first. When families had 2 incomes, agents and sellers could charge more. Banks changed lending standards to consider both incomes equally when qualifying for mortgages, so home prices rose to capture both. You qualify for a $300,000 to $400,000 house on $100,000 combined income, whether it's 1 earner or 2. But when everyone's dual income, prices in good school districts rise to match what dual income households can afford. You can't opt out. Cheaper houses mean worse schools, fewer opportunities for kids. The housing market segregated itself based on dual income assumptions. Warren calls this the _quote_0_. Parents aren't paying for granite countertops. They're desperate to get kids into decent public schools, and the only way is buying a house in that district. Parents bid against each other until both must work to afford the mortgage that gets their kids a decent education. The childcare industry exists almost entirely because of this trap. If one parent stayed home, no childcare costs. But both must work to afford the mortgage, so you pay for childcare. Explanatory. Slightly tightening. Because every family needs it, providers charge whatever the market bears, $2,000 to $3,000 per month. Because what are you going to do? Quit your job? You can't. You need it for the mortgage. You need 2 incomes for the house for good schools, childcare for 2 incomes, both incomes for childcare. It's circular. The automotive industry profits too. 2 working parents in different locations need 2 cars. Car companies design marketing around his and hers vehicles. AAA estimates owning a vehicle costs $9,000 per year.
That second car erodes another $9,000 from that second income's benefit.
But the psychological costs don't show up on spreadsheets.
Never seeing your kids, exhaustion preventing you from enjoying free time, marriages strained by two-career stress, missing school plays for meetings, eating drive-through 3 nights weekly because nobody can cook. You're time poor, energy poor, presence poor. You bought the house in the good district, but you're never home. You can afford nice vacations in theory, but can't take them. You've got money for things, but no time or energy to appreciate them. My friend Jessica and her husband made $250,000 combined in finance, top 10% of households. She was miserable, working 60-hour weeks, barely seeing 2 young kids. They had a $40,000 per year nanny, beautiful house they never enjoyed, outsourced everything, meal kits, house cleaner, lawn service, closet organizers. One day Jessica calculated her actual net after taxes and work expenses, $30,000 per year from a job consuming her life. She quit. Household income dropped by half on paper, but quality of life improved. They downsized, became 1 car. She cooked so food costs dropped, no nanny needed. Convenience expenses disappeared. They spent only $20,000 less annually, despite a $100,000 pay cut. The other $80,000 had evaporated into work costs and lifestyle inflation.
But Jessica saw her kids grow up, had time to exercise and read. Stress plummeted. Marriage improved. She slept well for the first time in years. Less money, absolutely, but more of everything that matters. I'm not saying everyone should quit. Many love their careers and find fulfillment, but we need honesty about math and trade-offs. Stop pretending dual incomes automatically equal dual prosperity. Actually calculate whether that second income is worth it after all costs, financial and otherwise. This isn't accidental. It's the result of specific policy choices. Skyrocketing housing from restrictive zoning limiting supply. Absurd healthcare costs from tying insurance to employment. Exploding college costs from unlimited student loans and reduced state funding. Lack of affordable childcare from no public subsidy. Other countries subsidize or provide free childcare, universal health care, low-cost university, more affordable housing through different policies. They don't face this impossible bind. American families have no choice. 2 incomes are mandatory. Then we act surprised they're stressed and broke despite high incomes. What can you do? First, recognize you're in the trap. Most don't realize it. They think they're bad with money or need to earn more. Second, actually do the math on that second income. Calculate taxes, childcare, commuting, convenience costs, all of it. Figure out the real net. You might be surprised how little it is. Third, be willing to live differently than peers. Everyone has 2 incomes affording certain housing and lifestyle levels. Opting out means choosing different. Smaller house, less prestigious neighborhood, older cars, fewer activities. It feels like failure, but it's rational. Fourth, aggressively question whether you need things you think you need. New cars or used? Most expensive childcare or affordable options? Most expensive neighborhood or slightly less? Eating out 3 times weekly or meal prepping Sundays? Fifth, restructure work to minimize costs. Remote work saves commuting and maybe reduces childcare. Negotiate 4-day weeks. Might net more after expenses than 5 days. Find work closer to home. Start a flexible side business. Sixth, most important, avoid increasing fixed expenses as income increases. This is lifestyle inflation locking people into the hamster wheel. Every raise that upgrades lifestyle locks you into needing that higher income permanently, reducing flexibility and increasing fragility. Better approach. Keep fixed expenses low relative to income. Don't move to expensive houses with raises. Bank extra money or pay debt faster. Build buffer. Create flexibility. Give yourself options. Financial security isn't how much you earn. It's the gap between earning and needing to spend. A household earning $100,000 spending $90,000 is more secure than one earning $200,000 spending $195,000. The first has flexibility and options. The second is one layoff from disaster.
I know a couple, Tom and Linda, who started making $70,000 combined. They rented small for $800 per month, had one used car, lived simply because they had to. Smart move. As they got raises over years, they didn't increase lifestyle much. Bought a modest house deliberately below what they could afford. Kept used cars. Kept expenses low. By the time they made $150,000 combined, they lived on $70,000 and saved $80,000 per year. That savings gave incredible freedom. Linda took a year off when pregnant, barely noticed income loss. Tom switched to more passionate, lower-paying work. They could afford it. They started a business with savings, no debt. They had options because they hadn't trapped themselves with high fixed expenses. Compare that to the typical path, where every raise gets spent on lifestyle upgrades, making more and more, but never getting ahead because expenses grow to match income, trapped by their own success. The two-income trap affects birth rates. Having kids became economically prohibitive. Childcare costs skyrocket. One parent might quit blowing up the budget. Kids need space, meaning bigger, expensive houses. People rationally choose fewer kids or delay having them, which has huge long-term societal consequences. It affects mental health, financial stress even for people doing well on paper. Two adults working full-time, never seeing each other or kids, constantly worried despite good income. No time for sleep, exercise, friendships. It drives political polarization. Economic insecurity fuels anger and frustration. People feel they're working harder than parents for less return, and they're right. They look for someone to blame. Societal solutions would help. Affordable housing through zoning reform, universal health care not tied to employment, subsidized childcare, free or low-cost public universities, stronger labor protections, progressive tax reform. But I don't see these happening soon. Too many entrenched interests benefit from the current system. Most of us must navigate this trap alone without policy help, but we can understand it and make informed choices within it. Do the math. Figure out what makes sense for your situation. Opt out of arms race parts that don't make you happier. Build flexibility and resilience so you're not fragile. Prioritize time and relationships and well-being over status and consumption. There's a growing movement doing exactly that. Financial independence people aggressively saving to retire early or achieve security. Minimalism questioning consumerism and living with less. Lifestyle design prioritizing experiences and flexibility over traditional advancement. People moving to lower cost of living areas to work less or save more. Choosing one-parent home or part-time despite sacrifice. All different attempts to escape or mitigate the two-income trap. The two-income trap is real, structural, not your fault if you're caught in it. The system captured both incomes, leaving you broke despite working twice as hard. But you're not helpless. Do the math, see how much that second income actually nets. Make informed choices about whether it's worth it. Question assumptions driving the trap. Opt out of race parts that don't serve you. Build flexibility by keeping expenses low relative to income. Prioritize what actually matters. It won't be easy. Social pressure, self-doubt, wondering if you're making right choices, seeing peers living differently. But stay focused on the life you actually want, rather than the life you're supposed to want. And you can navigate this without it destroying you. You've got one life. Make sure you're actually living it, rather than just earning enough to maintain it. That's the real trap, not two incomes themselves, but letting earning consume living, making work the center instead of life being the center. Accepting that stressed and broke and busy is just how it has to be. It doesn't. But changing it requires seeing the trap clearly, understanding how it works, and being willing to make different choices, even when they go against everything society tells you.